Hi folks, Dave, the man from the East. I'm going to give you a story that might make this a little easier to understand where I'm coming from about being a solver of Forrest Fenn's poem. It's going to take a little bit. I apologize for that, but for me to get across the information I need to get across, it's going to take some explaining to do. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready. First thing, back in 2015, I had an injury and it put me on modified duty at work. And I was sitting in a tower, found an outside at the prison. I'm a correction officer, but I was sitting in a tower and I found an outside magazine that had an article about Forrest Fenn. A lot of people have read that one. It caught my attention right away. I started investigating, and within like 3 or 4 hours sitting in the tower, yes, I had my phone on me. Not really supposed to, but I looked up some information, and within 4 hours I knew where I wanted to search. I took the word brown, looked it up in Spanish, and it said Marin, and brought me to Cimarron Canyon, and that was how it all started. That was not a solve. That was not a clue. It's not anything to get to the end of the treasure. I just got lucky with how that connected. So, next thing is, I ended up, I had no vacation time. I had no comp time. I had nothing built up because of my injury. So I had to wait a year and save up all my vacation time, do swaps. I finally took a month off in June somewhere of 2017. My first trip with my girlfriend out to Cimarron Canyon. The reason I knew it was Cimarron Canyon was because of the hint of riches new and old. I had done so much research and studying and learning about it, and this is a couple pictures. In my videos, I talked about the hint of riches new and old, and this geography of the canyon literally puts all new quartzite rock at the beginning of the canyon. The whole first half of the canyon is all newer quartzite rock. From the delineation mark of Palisade Sill to the whole second half of the canyon is all Proterozoic and intrusive igneous rock. And the pictures will show that. I'll show it again so you can see it a little bit better. Now that delineation, I knew just because of what I read about Forrest, what I looked up for information. That's how he felt about nature. Those are his riches, is anything dealing with nature and beauty, and the connection right there. So I knew that was the spot. So I dragged my girlfriend along with me on this trip for almost a month, and we started out in Cimarron Canyon, and for a week I searched high and low in Palisade Sill and didn't come up with anything. I searched under the sill, I searched up near the big brown rock, I searched everywhere. I dragged her across Ponderosa Campground, up Maverick. I covered so much ground there and didn't come up with anything. And then I started thinking, well, some of the other clues lead other places in the canyon. So that's maybe it's somewhere else in the canyon, but didn't have any luck there. So that whole first trip, most of it, I knew when I started, it had to be Palisade Sill. Didn't I just felt that was what it was. But the other rest of the canyon was just a nice time looking at different spots in the canyon between Clear Creek, Maverick Creek, Old Little Clear Creek. Some of you don't even probably know that that's in there, but we searched everywhere in there. Too long-winded on what other things, other areas were, but that whole first trip started out in Palisades Hill. Second trip next year, which was June of 2017. The first trip was August of 2016. Planned another trip for the following year. Knew that I had to go back to Palisades Hill. Dragged her back. We went, searched. It took about another month off between swaps and vacation and everything else. Started out in Palisades Hill again. Still no luck. So we did that trip. Ended up stopping at my brother's on the way back home. It was a nightmare, folks. I don't know if you understand. I've spent hours, weeks, months looking up information, and I knew that the starting point had to be somewhere in Palisades Hill because of that connection. So I brought her back there again, but taking her with me put a little bit of a damper on my physical strength to be able to go anywhere I wanted around Palisades Hill and look. So that trip went by. We had no luck again. I knew I had to get this out of my system. So that was June of 2017, our second trip. I told her, I said, I need to go out there alone. I just need to hike my ass off and look around Palisades Hill and get this out of my system, because I knew that the search area was Palisades Hill. So I took a third trip, but I went by myself, 5 days. October 30th through November 3rd, Monday through Friday. Monday was a travel day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were search days. And Friday, November 3rd, was the trip home. I went out there. Didn't really tell anybody else. I just had all my hiking gear, and I searched high and low all over Palisades Hill again. But I went to a little bit more dangerous areas where I shouldn't have. I went higher on the sill and screwed it up. And then my girlfriend's telling me, you have to look at it differently. Check like across the canyon. And I'm like, well, that's Palisades Hill is the Marble Gaze. It should be. So I did. I started cruising up on the opposite side of the canyon and looking everywhere up there, taking pictures of different things I thought were the blaze. I finally came across, there's a plateau up there that's a big plateau where the lines are, the power lines, and I searched that area. I finally came across down to another area. If you're looking from the road on the left, there's a steep hill that comes down. I went down that hill into a small ravine and then back up onto another smaller plateau. And that smaller plateau, folks, is where I found a fire pit that was hidden up on that small plateau. And right away I was like, nobody's going to find this hidden area. This is like up on a plateau 500 feet above the road, above the parking area, and there's a fire pit here. And there's a ravine that I didn't even think about the ravine at first, but there's a ravine that leads up to it. So this fire pit, I was like, this is the blaze. And this is the picture. When I found that blaze, I searched that plateau for about 2 hours everywhere, thinking that Forrest set it on the treasure on the ground. And I was like, I am at the blaze. I have gotten to the point. And the reason I got to that point, folks, is because in the poem, and like I said, I studied this, and I'm going to give you a modified clue sheet from what I did These are the actual 9 clues that bring you, but I'm going to give you the first couple that lead you to Palisade Sill, and why exactly, and how you have to find the blaze. So, first one. This is your first clue. Alright, as I have gone alone in there, and with my treasures bold, I can keep my secret where, and hint of riches new and old. Now that right there is, he's pinpointing Palisade Sill, because he's telling you, as I have gone alone in there, which is his secret spot. And that messed with me for years, as I've gone alone in there, because I'm wondering, is there the actual beginning of the chase that leads up to the hidden area? So, as I've gone alone in there with my treasures bold, and I believe his treasures were the rainbow trout and brown trout that he used to catch when he was a kid, and he would go up to the fire pit and cook them at night. That's the end of his rainbow. That fire pit, I will give you answers to every single clue that and hint that he's put out. And as far as the end of his rainbow, that's the end of his rainbow, where he would cook his fish at night after a long day of fishing. He's a young kid. He can climb up that 500 feet, no problem. So, and with my treasures bold, could possibly mean, I'm not perfect at this, folks. Every hint and clue could have other meanings along with it. So yes, it could be his treasure chest he took in there when he went to bury it and hide it for people to search for it. So that's why it's treasures. But I can keep my secret where. He's pinpointing a spot where he's keeping his treasure and the trove. And hint of riches new and old. This picture right here, he's telling you he's keeping it right at Palisade Sill, the delineation mark between his riches of new and old. And in the canyon, that's how it goes, new into old. Palisade Sill is that delineation marker, folks. That's how I got to that point. And then this I call the map portion of the poem. He gives you a hint up here. He tells you it's a hint. But the actual map is clues 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right? You have your first 5 clues. 4 of them are the map. You begin it where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk. Now that right there, you begin it at Agua Fria Peak. Because where Palisade Sill is, if you can figure out where there is, this is how it gets tricky. And it's confusing, but when you understand it and see the connection of how it lines up, it's magical. And this is what I'm trying to explain to you. It's going to be a longer video. I apologize for that, but it's the only way to get the information out altogether to understand everything in order and the correlation of it all. So you begin at where warm waters halt. And these first 3 lines in this stanza are one clue. Because there's no comma, and it says and, so you're connecting it together. But there's a comma here before the not too far, not far but too far to walk. So begin it at Agua Fria Peak and take it in the canyon down. So the only canyon right near Agua Fria Peak is Cimarron Canyon. So you're taking it into that direction. You're going over to Cimarron Canyon. Not far, but too far to walk. That is also included in clue number 2. And it's the correlation, the connection of his Vietnam War experience, or Viet Cong, wherever he was when he said he had to walk out of the jungle. Because there's a monument along that walkway, along that stretch of 23 miles. This is that picture. Okay, folks? That's the picture of Google from Agua Fria Peak over to Eagle's Nest, which is your home of Brown. And he says it's put in below the home of Brown. That right there, one sentence alone, is your home of Brown. Is Eagle's Nest not Eagle's Nest Lake. If you Google it, he said the first few clues you can do by Google. The rest you're going to have to do on the ground, boots on the ground. So that not too far, or not far but too far to walk, is in between Agua Fria Peak and Eagle's Nest. The monument. He makes that connection. If you make that connection with him, that's great. That's why he has his Vietnam stories in the first book, and in the second book he also has the dedication with the Vietnam wall and all the names in the second book. That each thing in the canyon he brings into the books, in the first two books. I never got the third book. I never watched it. I don't know if there's a connection in there between where he brings up Maverick again from Maverick Creek, because he brings it in the first book. He says it in the second book. He brings Ponderosa. There's Ponderosa Campground. He brings that in the first book. He brings that in the second book. Mountain Men. He talks about mountain men in a story in the first book. He brings up mountain man wisdom in the second book. The connections to everything in the canyon are in the first book and the second book, for just connections and hints to connect it. And that's why he says, go back and read the book again, read the book again. These connections that bring you to that point. He talks about Monte Verde, and then he says fishing on the Verde. There's Monte Verde Lake right before Agua Fria Peak. And if you look up Monte Verde, there's also Monte Verde in another part of the world that they found the most oldest people that existed. My prehistoric friends. That's where he brings in that. Monte Verde. That's in the first book. That's in the second book. The connections of everything. I have so much information to bring in. I'm trying to keep this at a minimum so you can understand the poem. But back to the poem. Begin at where warm waters halt, Agua Fria Peak. Take it in the canyon down. You head towards Cimarron Canyon, not far, but too far to walk. That's why that's all one clue. It brings you to Eagle's Nest, which is put in below the Homer Brown. So you have to go from Eagle's Nest into the canyon, and it's put down in there somewhere. All right, that's your first three clues. Simple, but that is the map portion, the second stanza. Now you've left Homer Brown, which is Eagle's Nest. Clue number 4. From there. Now, that's that correlation. This is the purpose. He said, give the poem to a child. So that from there, it's no place for the meek. On the map, folks, when you get to Palisade Sill, okay, that's your there. The connection between As I Have Gone Alone in there. Somewhere in Palisade Sill. From there, it's no place for the meek. So you drive by Palisade Sill. Before I get right there, again, Eagle's Nest to Palisade Sill. Did you see that, folks? Eagle's Nest to Palisade Sill is 8.3 miles, which is the more than 8.25. That's the connection where I bring in 8.25. I have every clue and every hint figured out in this perfectly. So when you see it all in order, in connection with each other, you understand it a little bit better. And that's where the 8.25 comes in. More than 8.25 is 8.3. So that's the connection from the there. It's no place for the meek. Eagle's Nest on Google to Palisade Sill, 8.3 miles. From there, that's your pinpoint. He pinpoints, that's the second time he pinpoints Palisade Sill in everything connected. Okay? Now, from there, it's no place for the meek. No place for the meek is the mountain men that he talks about, because on the road, when you're taking that road down through Palisade Sill, you round the corner after the picnic area. Straight ahead, you see a little sign. This is what it says. And those are the pictures of the mountain man. the mountain man wisdom, mountain men in his story. That is your no place for the meek. The mountain men were badass, and that's what he's talking about. It's no place for the meek. From there, you have to understand that their connection. He's not going to tell you where there is. He's not going to tell you where his hint of riches new are. That's what we had to figure out, folks, is what that pinpoint was. And it's literally Palisade Sill. And the people that don't believe it, they can keep looking wherever they're going to look, but that's the connection that everybody missed, is the there. It's pretty much the most important word in the poem, because if you don't know where there is, in connection with marrying your poem to a map, you're not going to find the treasure. This is why I found the treasure spot. Now, from there, it's no place for the meek, which is mountain men area. Okay? That's one clue, with the end is ever drawing nigh. So, from there, Palisade Sill, it's no place for the meek. Right around that corner on the same rock structure, Palisade Sill. It's right behind it. It's no place for the meek. The end is ever drawing nigh. So that has a correlation there. The end could be the 300-foot cliff that's on your left. It's a cliff. People see it as a sill. They look at it from the bottom, but it's literally a cliff. So there's your end is ever drawing nigh. And those two lines are together. So that right there is clue number 4. So clue number 4 pinpoints where the treasure is. And that's why he says people can solve it within the first few clues. If you know where there is, when you come up and park into the parking area, I did it. I parked in front of the sign where he had the treasure chest for 4 years, not even picking up on. I had an older picture. These are the pictures of the signs that I had. There was an older one I took when I first started parking there. I didn't get the connection. But you can solve this whole poem within the first few clues, as Forrest said. And that's why he did it that way. So that if you took somebody older that's not going to be able to climb up into the woods, and you're off looking, and they're in the parking lot waiting for you, they could solve the poem. They could solve the whole treasure hunt of Forrest Fenn, because he wanted everybody to have a chance. And if you were smart enough to connect that sign, Kent and Esther, for the cross, and that's going to be coming. I'll explain that. But anyways, that pinpoints it. Clue number 4. Clue number 5. There'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. Okay, that's clue number 5. That's the rest of the map. From Palisade Sill, there'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. You round that corner by the old man face, and within a mile, half mile, I don't remember exactly, you come upon Maverick Creek Campground and Ponderosa Campground on your right. So those right there, Maverick Creek, there'll be no paddle up your creek. You don't go down to the creek. That's what that means. All right, these are together. That's one of your clues. There's a comma and a period in clue number 5, and it's to let you know there'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. If you go down to the creek, there's just going to be heavy loads, which is gravel pit lakes. They used to pull out all kinds of gravel out of there years ago. So gravel pit lakes is your heavy loads. And the water high is there's 3 of the gravel pit lakes. One of the lakes is like 5 feet higher than the other 2. That's your water high. It is one lake that is higher than the others. So that's your water high. And this is all in order, folks, as I've said. It all in connection, which is what Forrest wanted us to do. put everything in order. Don't mess with the poem. Start from the beginning. And that purpose of starting from the beginning is as I've gone along in there. He's pinpointing Palisade Sill. People think that starting at the beginning, he said the first clue is begin at where warm waters halt. It is the first clue to the map portion of the poem. Forrest messes with words and connections to everything. So this connection between the first clue that everybody, he said, I put one of the videos out of how many times he said people are ignoring the first clue. Everybody was going with begin at where warm waters halt as the first clue. It was the first clue in the map, not to solve to find where the treasure was. This is where he tricked people off. He gave them the true information, like Forrest does. He gives you the true information, but he misleads you until you realize he's messing with me. I'm searching as the first clue for a beginning where warm waters halt, when the first clue to find the actual treasure hiding spot is the first line in the poem. And a lot of people know that. And you knew there was an important thing about the first stanza. But what was it? That's what it was. Now, I've pretty much gone over everything on that first clue, or the first stanza, which is actually the whole first clue. It pinpoints Palisade Sill in order, all connected. Some of you may start to see that. Some of you just don't want to give up what you have and what you've earned and what you've worked for. Just like I totally understand it. And I don't want to get upset with anybody anymore. I just want to put this out there of how the actual whole poem pulls together and is solved in consecutive order, which is what he tells us to do. Okay? Now, Palisade Sill marker. That is at 8.3 miles from Eagle's Nest, the home of Brown. I searched my ass off for those 3 days. I did 26 miles in Palisade Sill. And I searched that place high and low, and I actually started to search other areas again, and I said, what the hell am I doing? I know that Palisade Sill is a spot. And then when I did come across that fire pit, which is his end of his rainbow, I realized that fire pit was the blaze. And clue number 6, okay, we've already been through the first 5. I'm not going to show you the sheet again. We've been through the first 5 clues, folks. Clue number 6 is this whole stanza together. Okay? That's clue number 6. That, if you've been wise and found the blaze. Now, I've explained to you why you had to be wise and found the blaze. It had the first clue. It had the why you give the poem to a child. The connection of hint of riches new and old. Now, you folks may not believe that it all goes in order for some reason, but it does. It's all connected in consecutive order, like he said. The next thing is, if you've been wise and found the blaze. So, if you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease. Now, this is all together, folks, but tarry scant with marble gaze. Just take the chest and go in peace. When I found that blaze, it was November 1st, 2017. I had that five-day trip. It was right in the middle of it. And I got so excited, I searched around that whole plateau for a couple hours. And then I finally worked my way back down into the parking area. It took me 15 minutes to realize, like, I was like, oh, I got to go back up and start looking. I tried to go back in to get up there, and it took me 15 minutes to find the ravine that I just came out. I was like, why can't I find this thing? This is, I just came out of there. I just came out of that little ravine that leads up to the fire pit. Why am I having a hard time finding it? Because it's so hidden. if you don't know it's there, you're gonna walk right by it when you when you're in the parking area and you walk up towards where the entrance is. As I've gone alone in there, I missed it. I went up to the right and I went back up to the other plateau. That's the big plateau across from Palisades Hill. But it did. I was like, why am I not finding how to get back up there? He said it's hidden and nobody's gonna just stumble across finding the area. So it's when I finally did realize, and I got back into that small area where the ravine leads up, I came up to the first wall of rock that you have to kind of go up around. This cold air hit me right in the face, like a 10-degree difference. And I'm like, oh my God, maybe that's your effort will be worth the cold. I went through, folks, this is not a weekend thing. I did months and years, like I said, of figuring this out. So I went back and forth with different clues until I finally got everything in order. And this is what I'm giving you. That wasn't the cold. It's just what I felt, because it was later down in the poem. Your effort will be worth the cold. So just don't start mixing things up. I'm just explaining how I got back up through the ravine, went back up to the blaze, and started looking again. When I got up to the blaze again, I searched. I found this rock. I sent that to Forrest. I emailed it. I forgot to take the maps off of my pictures. I didn't want anybody getting the information of me finding the actual blaze. So when I emailed it to Forrest, it had all the information on the picture of the location of where it was. Now, Forrest said when he searches his emails, he looks for keywords. He's looking for Palisades Sill. That's one of the keywords. I don't know what maybe some of the other keywords were, but I can tell you right now, he looks up when you're searching Palisades Sill. He said a lot of people are close, but only a few people are in tight focus. Now I know there's a few other people that figured out Palisades Sill for the actual search area. Why? He said he pillowed down on the sill in the wagon with the gypsies. Folks, he gives it to you, and I put that in my videos of how this all connects. And you can solve it without the book. Is if you figure out where there is, you can solve it by pulling right up to that cross and seeing the cross and making the connection of Kent and Esther. Being, if you can't figure out the first clue, you might as well stay home and play canasta. That Kent and Esther is canasta. You might as well stay home and play canasta. It's that connection. I haven't even gotten there. I'm still back up on the blaze. But the connection between everything is so magical when it finally all pulls together for you. So that blaze, I searched it. I found the rock, emailed Forrest. In November 1st, that email got sent to Forrest of that picture of the blaze. December, after my trip was done, Forrest came out with the quote to everybody, who everybody thought that was them. But Forrest came out with the quote, "I have a gut feeling that the treasure is going to be found by the end of next summer." Well, this is where I did my apology in some videos that I did not solve what the look quickly down was. There's 3 look quickly downs there. One from where the fire pit is the ravine right here. Now that I thought was look quickly down, and I spent 2 years trying to figure this out. But that I thought look quickly down. That's the fastest thing right there, down into the ravine. Your effort will be worth the cold. Digging up cold stones, stone cold. I thought maybe that was a connection. It took me 2 years, and it was so friggin' simple. And this is why Forrest thought it was going to be solved the next year. And when I get to that part of it, why you understand why it's so simple, you will say, I already know I'm a dumbass for everything that's happened along the way after I found the blaze. You can call me a dumbass for whatever, but I'm the smartest dumbass you're going to know, because I figured this out. But as far as the look quickly down, yes, it took me longer. I admit it. I'm a fool. The look quickly down is not down into the ravine. And the ravine, folks, is the actual chase. That is the thrill of the chase. When you find that ravine that Forrest was talking about, chase is a channel to put something in or pass through. All this connection, I can tell you what the chase is. I can tell you why to give the poem to a child. I've got every single thing solved, folks. Every single thing. The only thing I didn't do was dig deep enough to get the treasure. And that's in my other videos too. I didn't need to get arrested because I was pretty much by myself when I did every digging. And I can't go down 4 feet and take the chance of losing my pension after 19 years and a 20-year career. But anyways, the blaze, the look quickly down. Forrest talks about take it in the canyon down earlier in the poem. So as I'm at the fire pit, look quickly down. My next connection was the next year, because I couldn't figure it out the first year. I searched that whole ravine. I spent hours and hours metal detecting, looking in the ravine. I found this little ring in the ravine. Also, up at the fire pit, these are things I found around the fire pit. They're pretty cool things, but I'm at the fire pit. I'm looking quickly down. I think it's taking in the canyon down. You look in the direction of down the canyon, and this is your view. Beautiful, right? There's a little sitting rock up on that plateau, away from the fire pit. If you go over to the edge, this is the sitting area with that other view. Amazing spot, away from everything. Nobody knows it's there. It's hidden. This is Forrest's hidden area, folks. And if you're up on the plateau and you're looking at Palisades Hill, these are your views for Palisades Hill from that fire pit plateau area. Okay. I know in his books, he talks about 2 trees that fell over. Up at the front of the ridge, there's 2 trees that are lying over each other. I searched that area with my metal detector. I couldn't find anything. I searched 2 years, as I said, from that whole thing. And it's such a steep hill in the front. I'm like, there's no way. That's the look quickly down. I couldn't find anything. My second trip back out there after I had found the blaze, my first one turned out to not be so good. My son having me drive him, I spent 4 hours each day driving him somewhere else so he could look. He apparently didn't want to help me or didn't believe me or whatever the reason. I love my family. I did what they wanted from my trip. So I did not have a great trip on that trip. So anyways, before I get back to the look quickly down, it was not down the canyon. That's beautiful view, but it was not look quickly down the canyon. To get back to that actual trip, I took my son, I took a buddy who had cancer, and we ended up, it was so hard taking him up to that 500 feet because of his condition. But we did it, and I wanted my girlfriend, my son, and my buddy to join with me and solve what the look quickly down was. It was not the trip I thought it was going to be. So I got frustrated by the end, carrying my son's 90-pound backpack down 500 feet because he's 2 miles up the mountain. I'm sure Forrest would have did that at 80 years old, right? He's 2 miles up into the canyon, up into the wilderness, looking around up there. Oh, it's beautiful up there. I'm here for a purpose. That whole thing got screwed up. Anyways, I left. I was frustrated. I told Forrest, you beat me. I'm done. I don't know what the look quickly down is. I left it at that. When we left from 2018, that trip that we all went out there, I sent Forrest a message that I was all done. Now, July, after we left the canyon, three days later, there was a forest fire in the canyon. The whole canyon caught on fire, and nobody was allowed in there. So now, within a month of that, in July, Forrest announced, I have my thoughts on someone finding the treasure chest are wavering. Now, is that a connection? It is to me. A lot of my trolls out there, my troll friends, will say, oh, that doesn't make any sense. It does, folks. Either the message that I sent Forrest that I was done and I was fed up and I was done searching, he beat me, or the connection of the fire in Cimarron Canyon that shut everything down for people to get in there to look. Forrest said, my thoughts are wavering. Someone's going to find the treasure chest this year. Now, there's a pretty good connection there, right? Why in the middle of July? There's still so much search season that people could be searching Yellowstone. They could be searching, not the Rio Grande, Colorado, Wyoming. They could be searching anywhere. But he said, my thoughts on someone finding the treasure chest are wavering. I know why. And that's all I can say. I told you the reason why. If you understand it, if you understand where I've gotten to already, that the blaze had been found. We're at the blaze level, folks. We're not even at the treasure chest or how to get there from the look quickly down. But that's what Forrest said that year. And it was like all done. I drove 17 hours straight just to get home to end that trip. I was frustrated. So Forrest knew that. He said, no, it's not going to be found this year. So literally to me, the guy who found the actual blaze, which is why Forrest had the gut feeling, folks, because that is the true blaze. It is the end of his rainbow. Forrest knew I was done for that year. So he said, my thoughts are wavering on the treasure chest being found. Now, let's get on to, I kept getting things in my head. I knew I had the blaze. Why should I give it up? But I told Forrest I was done. But me, my girlfriend knows I don't let it go that easy. And I kept going and I kept thinking, and what would work? What would this be? What would that be? So I ended up planning a trip with my girlfriend the next year. She knew. She's like, it's my turn to pick a vacation spot, but I'm greedy. I said, I have ideas again. And that was, now I gave you all the reasons in the canyon why, what would work. I ended up doing something crazy in 2018. Actually, I think it was 2019. I went out by myself in the canyon in January because that's when I had the idea of Stone Cold. There wasn't a lot of snow out there, but there was a bit. And I ended up making a trip by myself. And I was told by a ranger, hey, there's 3 or 4 mountain lions that are cruising the canyon together alone. And I went up there, which was a no-no. But I did it. I am that crazy because I thought the Stone Cold. So I brought my metal detector, hiked up there through snow from behind the outhouse and went up that way. And I was so tired. I didn't find it. It was not the Stone Cold. That was that trip. That's why I brought that in with all the clues together. The next summer, I took my girlfriend out because I thought the look quickly down the canyon was the solve. So that was our next trip because I gave you the reasons why. Now I'm giving you the connection of when. January of 2018 is 19 actually is when I went out there. And bad. Don't go out in the canyon alone in the winter. Now, summer, I think it was May or June, I ended up going out with my girlfriend to look quickly down. Bought a scope to look across the canyon because I figured you sit on that rock, what he used to do, and you're looking quickly down the canyon, and you might see where he hid the treasure chest across the way. Didn't work. That whole trip in 2019 was no good. Except at the end of the whole trip, when I sat back in the car after I was done, took my girlfriend up there a bunch of times again, I sat in the car and I said he beat me again. He beat me again like he did last year when I told him I was all done and gave up. And as I sat there, I stared at the cross, and that's when the connection came in. This cross says Kent and Esther, and I I was frustrated. I was tired, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the cross. This cross. I said Kent and Esther. Kent Esther. Ken Esther. I'm like Ken Esther. This is. I'm like. You put those names together, Ken Esther, and that's the connection. That's the canasta. If you can't figure out where the first clue is to search Palisades Hill, you're not gonna. You might as well stay home and play canasta. Ken Esther. It's a lot of you folks don't agree with that, and you trolls have told me that. But the people out there that have some imagination besides the trolls are going to see that that's the connection for where the treasure chest is sitting, because all the other clues line up to that point. Okay, now your connection, you're starting to see it maybe, right? I'm like, holy mackerel. Canasta. You might as well say that's the cross. So now I know I'm in the right spot. I know I'm like, holy mackerel. So I get excited. I only have a day and a half left with my girlfriend there. So she sat on the road. I did a little digging. Like I said, I can't dig down 4 feet. If I get caught, I'm screwed. But I started digging, and I moved the cross. These are pictures of the actual, when I was there and I was doing a little bit of digging, and what I found. Okay. I found that bottle about a foot down. And I was like, Forrest talked about a little bottle in one of his stories, Jackie Kennedy. So the connection there, I'm like, I mean, for him to leave $2 million right on the side of a parking lot, I'm like, I don't think he would do that. But, so maybe this leads into other clues, which I looked up the Jackie Kennedy story, and he talks about being behind the fence with her, I guess 6 feet away. I said 12 in the other one, but you're literally 12 feet away if you're in the parking area. But he said about 5 feet away. So now I'm thinking I have a distance of 5 feet from that bottle that I have to search in this whole area. That could be 4 feet. So I buried everything back up, and I said, I really have to look at the clues and think about this, where I need to dig. So I started investigating more clues from that bottle connection, a foot down. And like I said, I only had a day and a half left. So my time got used up. And later that year, I called the friends that I trusted and asked them to just take the cross. But I explained to them, trusting them, that, hey, I believe this is a spot. They're like, oh, you're crazy. It's not 500 feet up on a ridge where the blaze is. It's not, that doesn't make sense. They didn't get it. And a lot of people probably still don't get it. But there's going to be a lot of people now that do start seeing the connection. So I called them and I said, please do me a favor. Don't say anything. Just take the cross and hold on to it until next year when I retire. I can come back out there. I don't have my job I have to worry about for a 19-year career, folks. You're talking, if the cross is gone, nobody knows about it. It's going to be hidden. So what I did when I left, I threw mulch over everything that I had dug up. And this is a picture when I left. It looked untouched. I even put a new set of flowers there for the people who get upset that I dug in a little cross area. He says he talks about the grave markers, folks. He talks about melding the names together, and that cross didn't come back into his mind until years later. And when he says meld, if you look up androgynous, he said the closest people to the treasure had an androgynous name. Those people with an androgynous name, androgynous is when you put a male and female together, or a name that could be a male and a female, but it's both of them together. You meld the androgynous. You take Ken and Esther, put them together, you have canasta. The connection is great. I did that in my videos. If you look up the videos, I can't go over every single thing, but that's the connection. I put in my videos how it connects as far as androgynous, melding names together. Now, I forgot. I know I have to go back. I knew I was going to do this. Anyways, I'm getting onto the cross when I'm still up at the fire pit. I'm going to let that go right now. All right? That's the connection I made, though, with that cross sitting in the parking lot. He set that up so an 80-year-old man sitting in the car waiting for you with your dumb ass up in the woods, that old man could solve the poem, or solve where the treasure chest was. Let me get back to where the blaze was. The look quickly down. When I realized the cross, okay, I'm like, oh my God, the cross is here, where the connection is. How does it connect where the blaze is? Well, this is how it connects. The next clue, well, the same clue, clue 6. If you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down, comma, your quest to cease, comma. But tarry scant with marvel gaze, just take the chest and go in peace. Now, you've been wise and found the blaze. I'm going to explain that. Nice and easy, and it's simple, and this is why Forrest thought it was going to be solved the next summer, which I should have, but I didn't. I didn't think the steep hill was the look quickly down. But you're not climbing down. He said don't go up or down any steep precipice, whatever it's called. He said don't do that. Don't go up any steep hills. You've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down. You come back out to the edge, you look quickly down the steep hill in the front. The third, look quickly down, that I didn't think it was. You're looking back down towards the parking area, okay? That parking area is the tarry scant. Now, but this is the huge part, folks. The look quickly down, your quest to cease. Where does quest come in? Your quest is the whole Rocky Mountains. You could be searching anywhere in the whole Rocky Mountains for this, the quest. It is huge, that whole quest area. Your quest to cease. You're done searching everywhere. You have found the blaze. You're looking quickly down the steep hill in the front of that plateau up there, 500 feet up. Some searchers have been within 500. We say some people have been within 500 feet. Some searchers have been within 500 feet. Within 200 feet, that's a whole different story. I can get into that later, and I have got into it. I think the 200 feet, because from Palisade Sill to where the treasure chest was is within 200 feet. So people have been within 200 feet. You're right at the opposite parking lot on the opposite side of the road. He said avoiding cars was part of the thrill, and chasing the milk truck. All the connections are there. I have them all highlighted and marked out. It's all there, folks. But the look quickly down, your quest to cease. T.S. Eliot. This is the quote that I put up before. And he talks about that giving you goosebumps when you realize that your quest from T.S. Eliot is after you've done all your searching and your quest is done, you're going to end up back where you started, right? Does that make sense? That connection right there in the poem, he's telling you the quest, T.S. Eliot, you're at the fire pit, you look quickly down, your quest to cease. You're going to end up back where you started. You come back down, you don't go down the steep hill, but you go back down the ravine, or you circle around down behind the outhouse. You come back down to the parking area. All right? Now you're back in the parking area. The tarry scant is when you get back down into the parking area. The tarry is tar. Just a little bit. You tarry scant with marvel gaze. As you're walking across the parking lot, now all you have in front of you is Palisade Sill. That is the marvel gaze, folks. Palisade Sill. Okay? Tarry scant with marvel gaze. Just take the chest and go in peace. The chest is right after tarry scant with marvel gaze. It's right there where the cross is. You have to make that connection, and I didn't. Now, you folks are going to say, well, that cross is not going to be there in 1,000 years. You're right. That's why he put the ring of rocks there. Okay? He put the ring of rocks as a backup so that if the cross is gone, you can actually still figure that out. That the treasure chest is buried 4 feet down like the bells. So to me, the treasure chest was safe for another year until I retired. And folks, I found that in 2000, I might get the date screwed up here. But when I found that, I believe it was 2018, I got done my trip, okay? I got home. I sent Forrest a picture, and I showed you folks that picture before. Now, this is why, with this connection, when Forrest announced who found the treasure chest, which is, he thought it was me, because I sent him a picture of this the year before, 2019, because Jack dug it up in 2020, right? Today, actually, June 6th. But this is what Forrest had gotten after I had found the cross and put all the connections together. Okay? This said, that's your cross with Kent and Esther on it in the lush vegetation of the Rocky Mountains. I sent him this about who was closest to the treasure chest. I believe a man, but if you can't figure out the first clue, you might. The common mistake searchers make is they don't dwell enough on the first clue. And Forrest said, if you can't figure out the first clue, stay home and play canasta. I sent him that. I sent him a picture of. He thinks the closest man was the closest person was a man, and sometimes had a woman with him. He knew that I went. Well, he didn't know, but he probably figured, hey, this guy might have gone out by himself and found the blaze. But this right here, folks, this is the big story that puts everything together. That picture right there is under a canopy of stars. Now, there's one little cross there. But that story, when you read that story, and I can put that up, that's where you make the connection, folks. And I'm going to put my glasses on instead of trying to find it in the book. But sometimes when it wasn't too cold, I'd get even with my father for switching me by jumping out of the window by my bed. Window, a memoir. Forrest Fenn, The Thrill of the Chase, a memoir. A memoir is a window into life. Forrest pillowed down on the sill. This connection between window and sill, every time he talks about windows, well, not every single time, but almost, there's so many different clues in there. When he talks about the window, he's talking about Palisade sill. If you don't get that connection, you're never going to see this, but that is. And this is how it lines up too. For switching me by jumping out of the window by my bed and walking down to the cemetery. Okay? So he's up in Palisade sill. He leaves his bed, his little hidden area up on the ridge, which was just 1 block north. Now, folks, look at this map. 1 block north. From where his bed was, he comes down the hill. He goes 1 block, which is the parking lot, is 1 block north to the cemetery. If you look at the map from where his hidden area was, if you go directly north, you're heading straight back down the steep hill, and you're going 1 block north to the cemetery. It's genius. It lines up. It's perfect. It is what it is, folks. It is where he hid the treasure. And I think maybe some of you might be starting to get it. Let me read it. It's easier for you. Okay, just 1 block north of our home. That was his second home in nature, on the sill, in the window. It took guts to go in there when it was dark with no moon. Now, later in the poem, he talks about being brave and in the wood. It took guts to go in there at night. He's letting you know that you're not really supposed to be digging in a state park. So it took guts to go in there at night when there was no moon. He's telling you have to go in at dark. And Forrest did things that were kind of suspicious, but this is what you have to do. And this story connects it. It took guts to go in there at night when it was dark. It took guts to go in there when it was dark with no moon. I still remember a sense of accomplishment I felt when I sat on some dead guy's grave marker. I wasn't even afraid. a kid really has time to think in a graveyard. So he's pretty much telling you need to think about the graveyard and a sense of accomplishment. Folks, now I've given you the whole map portion and how it connects and leads you down to that cross that is the canasta. Canasta. Kent and Esther. Canasta. It's perfect. It's genius. And all right. Now, I did that in 2019. I sent Forrest this picture in like August, I believe, after my trip in July, the beginning of August, whenever it was. I don't know the exact dates. But I sent Forrest this picture. I told my girlfriend, I said, I'm going to watch the blogs or vlogs or clogs, whatever you want to call them, all the videos that people put out there, all these people who know what they're talking about and are so together. I said, I'm going to watch these. I mailed it out, and I said, I'm going to watch the videos and see who says what. Well, I believe it was 4 days later. One of the vloggers, a good friend of Forrest's, came out with a video about 28 or 29 minutes into the video. She got in a day. I'm sorry. They said, okay. They said Forrest gets mail. Now, this is 4 days after I sent Forrest that picture, and I told him. I said, "Good one." Like he knew. He knows now. Someone has found his resting spot for the treasure chest. He knows it. Toby Eunice. Why is Forrest gone dark? Forrest isn't putting any more of his the things he was posting there with the different little stories. He's like, Forrest has gone dark. He's not posting anything anymore. He's not really talking to anybody. Why? He knew that somebody had found the treasure chest. Now, cut to Jack finding the treasure chest. There's still more I have to tell you that all fits together, but we're just gonna. I'm running out of time. I'm running out of space here on my phone. Like I said, I need an actual interview. But cut to Jack finding the treasure chest and Forrest announcing it. Jack sent Forrest pictures of the treasure chest. Forrest knows one person solved the treasure hunt. Forrest says the treasure has been found by a man from the East who wants to remain anonymous. And yes, I did want to remain anonymous until I picked it up in July or September after I retired. But somehow Jack heard about the treasure chest from, I'm sure, the people who didn't believe me. I don't believe that it was a family get-together where they said the treasure chest needed. It has no correlation, Barbarisi, about June 5th or anybody else who wants to say that. There's no connection between June 5th and the postmarks. And to be honest with you, the postmarks, folks, this is what the postmarks are. Postmarks are the devil's mailbox that can only be seen from Palisades Park parking area where the treasure chest was. That's where your postmarks come in. Folks, I have answered everything in my videos, and I get crap from the trolls that don't believe it. But maybe this video, like people have said, put everything together in one video so you can understand it. And this is going to be one hell of a long video. And it's done on June 6th, 1 year after Jack, my buddy who dug up the treasure for me. Anyways, Forrest knew that somebody had solved the treasure hunt. So when Forrest gets a picture of it, he's assuming that it's still the guy that never told him. When I sent him these pictures, I never told him I dug it up. I never told him I didn't. So he didn't know that if I still had it or not. Or if I did have it. I had my reasons. I just wanted to keep things quiet, but I wanted Forrest to know someone's actually found where his resting spot is. So when it came around to him getting a picture of it, Forrest assumed, oh my God, the guy finally sending me pictures. He dug it up. He's letting me know. So Forrest announces, the treasure chest has been found by a man from the east, or back east, that wants to remain anonymous. Now, Jack wanted to remain anonymous. He didn't want anybody to know that he snuck up and stole something from behind somebody's back. What a thief he is. Would you? No. So now, Jack sends Forrest the pictures. No correlation. Just sends him the pictures. Forrest announces the treasure chest has been found by a man from back east who's shy, wants to remain anonymous. And I'm on my way home from a different trip thinking, how the hell could somebody have solved this? There's got to be something going on here. Everything was hidden. There was no way. I've got 2 or 3 months before I'm going back out there. How can somebody have found it? So, Forrest announces it was found in the lush vegetation of the Rocky Mountains under a canopy of stars. He thinks, well, he knows that I solved it, but he's finally thinking I'm sending him the information on it. Folks, if you don't get that connection between Forrest believing that it was the man from the east, which is me, the guy that screwed up the whole thing, that's on you. You tell me who the man from the east is, because I've got the trolls telling me Forrest knows somebody from the east, and I don't, whatever, I'm not even going to get into that. But now that I put it all together and laid it out for you folks, giving dates to what happened when, maybe you see it a little bit better and understand a little bit more. But so I start putting my videos out going, wait a minute, this is what really happened. And I don't know how long it took until Jack finally said, hey, he thinks I'm somebody else. And Jack goes, I gotta come forward. So Jack comes forward. Now you folks are waiting for information, which you're never going to get from Jack. Jack has no idea of a solve. He has to come up with a solve. Now I hear Jack. I know I'm getting into Jackville. I should jump off of that. But anyways, you're not going to get answers from Jack. Jack is trying to cover his ass, and Forrest already knew that he was going to be passing shortly. He already got the message from December of the year before, from what I've heard. So he knew he was not going to be around. But can you imagine Forrest going, oh my God, this guy has no friggin' clue on what anything is solved. I have to call him the finder. I can't call him the solver. Forrest, from what I heard, Forrest never acknowledged Jack as a solver. He just acknowledges him as the finder. Even when he was in this court document, he said, I agree to say it was in Wyoming or found in Wyoming. This whole ending, folks, if you want to know why the ending happened the way it did, it's my fault. And I take full responsibility for the stupidness, for the waiting. Yes, I should have dug it up. But when you've got a 20-year career on the line, and you think that you have solid friends that you can trust, I'm a trusting guy. I try to be good on just about everything I do. And I get mad at some of the trolls. I'm sorry, you little weirdos out there. I apologize. I'm mean to you sometimes because you're mean to me. But it happens. So anyways, Jack has to come forward because he's like, he thinks it's somebody else. But Jack's an ass. You folks, I'm just waiting. And all of the news agencies, oh, we're so happy for you. Well, folks, Jack's not going to give you one single answer to any clue besides some broken... You can't wander the woods for 25 days. The woods, the Braving in the Wood that Forrest talks about, the wood is... If you look up Palisade, it's a wooden fence, a wooden structure, a thing to protect. Palisade sill. Palisade is the wood. If you are brave by going in at night digging up the treasure and in the wood, you're in Palisade sill. The rest of the clues, I should probably jump back onto that. I'm sorry. Okay. Now we've given you, just take the chest and go in peace. I've already got to that point, right? So you're next. That's clue number 6. Clue number 7. Right here. He asks you a question in clue number 7. I ended up consolidating this into clue number 7. Because why leave out anything? He says to rule out any word or line in the poem could be detrimental. So I put this in there. So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answers I already know. I've done it tired, and now I'm weak. That's like a sermon, folks. When you take the chest and go in peace, you're at the cross. I consider that now that I've looked into it more. I knew all these clues fit together, and the connection was there. I just have to figure out what exactly the 9 clues are for people who were asking. And this is what I've come up with. That is clue number 7, like a sermon. So why is it that I must go, he passed away, and leave my trove for all to seek? The answers I already know. I've done it tired, and now I'm weak. He did it when he was a kid. When he was tired, he'd climb up that 500 feet to his hidden area. But now he's too weak. So now, being too weak, he just placed it in the parking area where Peggy used to wait for him when he'd fish. It was... So, clue number 8. So hear me all and listen good. Your effort will be worth the cold. Period. That's one clue. Your clue number 8. Your effort will be worth the cold. Cold is digging up. And the hear me all is, I consider maybe like an echo because you're right there at Palisades Hill. But the hear me all and listen good, that part, echo. Your effort will be worth the cold. He talks about going in when it's not too dark and if it's not too cold. So the cold could mean going in at night. The cold could mean digging up in a grave. The last clue, number 9. If you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to the gold. That's where the connection with that little saying about the canopy of stars in that graveyard with this one little cross that Forrest is sitting on the grave. Forrest is sitting on the gravestones, but there's one little cross that's in that little picture. The one cross. They make that connection. So if you're brave and in the wood, you've gone in there at night, all right, you're brave. And he talks about it took guts to go in there at night when there's no moon. That's the connection there, folks. That little story is everything. That right there. And then after, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, after that story, you turn the next page and it's golden more. He talks about his secret area. It's right before that story is, if I'm not mistaken. I give you title to the gold. So Jack was the brave one who went in there and stole the treasure chest from out from under me. So Jack has title to the gold. So what's my next step? Give him credit for solving it? No. Screw him. I'm letting you folks know all of this stuff together. And maybe this video that I hesitated to do. I just wanted to put out, make it simpler, but people aren't making the connection. So maybe this video, they will make the connection. Let's see. Anyways, that's how it all connects. I could give you a ton more connections and correlations and how things fit together, and I have in my other videos. So if this video really strikes you as like holy mackerel, this is it. It is, folks. It is the solve that Forrest had, because with the cross and the connections. Oh yes, the cross. I'll just bring that back in to where I was trying to get to on the connection with the Kent and Esther. Now, this is where I bring in J.D. Solinger, okay? Because J.D. Solinger says to everybody, Forrest says, J.D. Solinger, if you look up J.D. Solinger, he was a canasta fiend, okay? But now, J.D. Solinger, if you look up canasta, all right, Kent and Esther, canasta, if you look up canasta it's the northern version. If you have a really crappy hand in canasta is like an old rummy game that they used to play. If you have a really crappy hand, it's called as dead as canasta. Your hand is as dead as canasta. Kent and Esther are dead, right? That's your connection with J.D. Solinger. As dead as canasta. They're both dead. Now, you want to know, two people can keep a secret if one of them is dead? That saying right there that Forrest put in his book, and he also stated in one of his interviews, two people can keep a secret if one of them is dead. Those two people, folks, are Kent and Esther. And if one of them is dead, they're both dead. That's why the secret is kept. Two people can keep a secret if one of them is dead. I never understood the connection. I was like, this doesn't make sense. If one person's dead, how can the other one can still tell? It's not when you deal with Kent and Esther. All right? Kent and Esther are the main reasons that this whole canasta and J.D. Solinger and all the other stuff, that's your connection. That's where the magic comes in, folks. Besides the there, earlier in the map that brings you directly pinpointing precisely to the cross. If you folks haven't seen that in this video, then let the trolls begin, because I'm telling you, folks, Jack heard about the solve from my friends. I hope that I've put enough information out there so that you understand. This poem was solved by a man from the East, Forrest was talking about. And that guy is me. All right? Dave Woodard from Massachusetts. I'm the guy that solved Forrest Fenn's poem. You folks still may not believe it. You may not see it. But there are going to be a lot of people who are I thought they would see it through the other hints and clues in my smaller videos. But maybe this one altogether, connected. Why? Folks ask me any hint or clue that you need answers to, but you've got to let go of what you think. No, that's not supposed to. My girlfriend, I love her, but she still thinks in her mind, and this is what people do, and this is my own girlfriend is like, she thinks my blaze is wrong. She thinks, Forrest said, if you find the blaze, look quickly down, your quest to cease. Tarry scant with marble gaze, take the chest and go in peace. She thinks that when you find the blaze, you're going to look down and see the treasure chest. And it doesn't work that way. This how many more lines in there? If you've been wise and found the blaze, look, these are all clues. He's not going to make it that easy. Look quickly down, your quest to cease, but tarry scant with marvel gaze, just take the chest and go in peace. There's more that you have to solve, and it's taking the time and figuring it out. And if you were wise enough to find the blaze, that blaze is the end of his rainbow, which is the fire pit. This, folks, I hope this helps. I hope this video puts people at ease for what really happened and how the whole thing ended. It ended ugly. It ended with somebody stealing someone else's solve. I have to accept that. I am, as I said in previous videos, I'm going to be the smartest dummy in everywhere I go from now on. I solved it. I thought it was safe. Someone stole it. Bottom line, Jack, as I said in my videos where I was upset in the middle of the night, couldn't sleep, just come clean, man. It's going to come out. I know your information you're trying to put out or gather is coming out, and somebody told me to wait on my videos. So I will wait. I will put this out there for the people that really want closure of what really happened. You folks and the folks that have backed me already, there's not many that watch my videos, but maybe this one will top the charts when people realize this is the actual solve, actual factual solve of Forrest Fenn's poem, his treasure hunt, how it all pulls together, how it all fits, the connections, the dates, everything. But I don't remember if I said this or not, but when I was talking about the blogger, my camera cut out. That blogger, when I sent Forrest the picture, they said Forrest gets mail. They announced in that video that, oh my God, Forrest said somebody got really, really, really close to the treasure chest, and we don't know who it is. And what they said was it the same guy last year who was really close and said he was all done searching? Now, When I saw that in the video, that was a year before Jack took it. That, to me, was like another holy mackerel. How does she know? I mean, they know that I said I was all done searching. They're friends with Forrest. I understand Forrest gives out information to some people and other people. But I'm telling you right now, folks, all of these bloggers and vloggers don't want to give up what they've accomplished and what the following they have and the people that believe them, which is okay. You're never going to get validation from these other people that I'm the real solver. They're going to try to cut this apart, and they're not going to be able to, because I believe that you people are smarter than what they're giving you and what they're feeding you and what they think is and what they're making up, and they hear, oh, this one said that. They're doing the same thing, folks. And I started getting caught up in that. But this video, I'm hoping, after it takes 4 days to download on my phone, I hope it puts a little bit more closure for all of you folks who did want to know. And thank you for your support. I'm not asking you for money like some of the people out there. They're just in it for the buck, folks. They know then they have nothing, and they're looking for, oh, send me another $5, send me another $25, send me another $100, send me some cameras. I'm not doing that. I have spent way too much time and energy to solve this thing, which I did. I am the man from the East, folks. And I give you all the information. And if you have questions on it, please ask. But the trolls, I think I'm done answering you. I'm done. I just can't take you guys anymore. I want the people that are positive. I want the people that are excited that the actual solve is out there. And folks, don't go in the ravine. Don't go in that chase to lead up to the blaze. I know we're going to have people there. I know there's talk about maybe it was make-believe that Forrest had a fake chest and he put it out there just to get it done, and the real chest is still out there. I do not believe that, folks, and don't believe that. Don't go digging up where I said the final spot was, because you're going to get in trouble. Jack heard about my solve. He dug up the treasure chest. End of that story. Jack has title to the gold, right? He has title to the gold, whether he stole the information or not. It is what it is. So don't get yourself in trouble. I appreciate if you want to throw some positive support. And I hope you all have a great day. It is 1 year anniversary. I will try to get this video out as soon as I can. I have to add some pictures in between the video. But folks, thank you so much. From the man from the East, Dave, you have yourselves a great day. It's beautiful out up here, and summer's coming. Let's enjoy it. Thanks, folks. I'll see you soon, and I'll be talking to you. Bye.